Some of you have probably heard the saying, we teach people how to treat us. Now, this doesn't mean that we can control people or make people treat us in any specific way, but it does mean that we can have a say in who we allow into our life and in what treatment we allow within our relationships. It means that we can actually help people to treat us better. And today, I'm going to show you how. Now, all of us have had relationships with someone who didn't treat us well in some way or another. When I think back to the times that I wasn't treated well, I was usually being a people pleaser or appeasing the other person, either because I was afraid to set a clear boundary or I was overthinking and telling myself that they just didn't know any better or making excuses for their poor behavior. I've had a lot of issues around saying no and feeling guilty. So I would say yes when I really wanted to say no. I would allow things that I wasn't actually okay or comfortable with. And then, of course, I'd end up feeling resentment, upset about the things I said yes to do, or upset at how this person has treated me. Now, most of us had had a time in our lives, usually when we're little, where we didn't have control around how we were treated. Obviously, when we're children, we can't say, stop this, or we can't say, I'm going to leave, and we can't leave. And this is where most people learn how to fawn. Fawning is actually a response to trauma, where we just appease and try to placate the people around us. We go along with things, usually as a way to protect ourselves. Now, obviously, this is a great strategy for survival when we're children, but when we're adults, this can cause a lot of issues for ourselves and within our relationships. So, as adults, we now want to develop something that's called agency. Agency actually helps us heal. It empowers us to make decisions in our own best interest, to set boundaries, and ultimately allows us to feel confident instead of helpless. Now, if you've ever met someone who's firm but kind and doesn't complain about the people in their lives, they've probably developed agency. We can all begin to develop agency by making conscious choices and by following through with them. So now, here are steps to help you help other people treat you better. The first step is I want you to begin to notice when you reinforce someone's bad behavior. Usually, we don't even notice this, but sometimes we actually reinforce behavior from people that we don't want them to continue to engage in. So let's say we don't want someone to guilt trip us because, of course, that doesn't feel good. It's actually a form of manipulation. But when they do guilt trip us and we give in, what we teach the person is, when I guilt trip this other person, I get my desired outcome. So we might be saying that we don't want this behavior or getting upset and mad at it. But when we continue to allow it, we're teaching the other person that that is how they get what they want from us. So maybe we're around a person who's really dominating and really opinionated. And when we're around them, we kind of just go along with whatever they want. And we don't show our own opinions, our own preferences, or even our own needs. In those moments, we're teaching that person that it's okay not to ask us what we want. It's okay not to make sure that we're comfortable. And it's okay not to check in with us at all. So if we notice that we're reinforcing someone's bad behavior, it's really hard to then get upset or mad with them when they continue that behavior. So the first step is simply noticing when you do this. You might want to notice even in your body what happens. You might notice your heart rate goes up, or maybe your muscles begin to tense or clench up. This is the first sign that someone is behaving in a way that doesn't feel safe for you. Then just become aware of how you respond to that person. Noticing if you're reinforcing that behavior, just be aware of it. The first step to changing anything in a relationship is becoming aware of the role that you're playing. Now, the second step in helping other people treat you better is to begin to know that you're no longer stuck. I'm a trauma therapist, and what I notice is that people who've been through complex trauma often still feel like a younger version of themselves. If they had to stay in childhood, convince someone, beg them, or even tolerate bad behavior, it's as if we're brought back in time. We feel stuck. Complex trauma will actually have us believe that we need to stay around things that aren't healthy for us. So it's very important for our healing to know that we always have the right to remove ourselves from any situation or any relationship where we're not being treated with respect. Even if someone is saying that they want to have a conversation with you or really pressuring you in some way, we have every right to remove ourselves. We are not stuck. When we remove ourselves from these situations and even these relationships, we're one step closer to giving ourselves and getting the self-respect that we deserve. We're actually teaching this other person that we're treated in ways that are disrespectful, that our presence is going to be removed. Now, again, this might not change how the other person treats you, and that's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to control the other person. What we are trying to do is to control what we allow ourselves to be exposed to. The third step to help others treat you better is you want to practice following through with your boundaries. Manipulative, difficult, and toxic people can put a lot of pressure on us, can be very convincing. So let's say we set a boundary, and we tell someone that we're not going to do something, whatever it might be. And that person might try to pressure us, guilt trip us, even manipulate us into doing the thing that they want. We might start to feel like we've done something wrong by saying no, by putting up a boundary. Sure, many of you have been there. I know I have. Now, if we don't follow through in that boundary, standing in our no, and we give in, we're teaching the person that it's okay and that they can pressure us, manipulate us, guilt us into acting the way they want. I want to remind all of you out there, it is okay to tell someone no. It is okay and even necessary to prioritize yourself and your own needs. And of course, you might feel guilty if that's how you've always felt. But guilt is not a sign that you've done anything wrong. Even when you feel guilty, it's so important to follow through, to hold your ground, to keep your boundary intact, because that's ultimately how you teach someone else how to treat you. I'd love to hear from you. What commitment can you make to yourself to teach people how to treat you better? Leave it in the comments below.